Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Alex Free, and I am the Research and Fellowship Coordinator for Minnesota Sea Grant. Uh, I'm excited to welcome you to our first ever Minnesota Sea Grant Interns Showcase. We're excited to put this on for you today. I'd like to start today by thanking all of our mentors and all of our interns, as well as our Internship and Fellowship Committee, for coming together to put today's event on. So we really appreciate all the work that's gone on by our interns this summer, as well as in the background to put this event on. Next slide, please. Minnesota Sea Grant is a federal university partnership of the University of Minnesota and the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. We have four focus areas that we work on: healthy coastal ecosystems, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, resilient communities and economies, and environmental literacy and workforce development. So today's program, our internship program, really falls under our environmental literacy and workforce development program, as we really hope that our interns have a great summer experience and develop job skills that will benefit them as they move into the workforce. Next slide, please. If you or someone you know is interested in becoming a Minnesota Sea Grant intern in the future, I encourage you to fill out our Minnesota Sea Grant internship interest form, which puts you on a list so we can send you notes as opportunities arise. You can also check out our internship program by going to the internship website. The QR codes are linked here. Next slide, please. So just a little housekeeping before we get into the showcase. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you are in listen and view only mode. So how you will interact with us today is that you are welcome to put questions and answers into the Q&A that you should see at the bottom of your screen. You also should have access to a live transcript if you should choose to use it. How this will go from here is we will have our different mentors introduce their projects as well as their interns. And then we'll have a 5-minute presentation from each of our 5 summer interns. After each presentation, we'll have 2 minutes for question and answer, where we'll take some time and answer the questions that you have put into the Q&A. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce our first host, Kelsey Priota. And next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm very, very happy to be able to welcome our first presenter, Tommy Belschner. Tommy is going to be starting his senior year at the University of Minnesota Duluth in just a few weeks, and he is a biology major and a geographic information systems minor. Tommy's internship project was St. Louis River water safety, and this project was selected as part of National Sea Grant's Community Engaged Internship Program. And this project really is focused on working to enhance our Paddle Safe Twin Ports project and also to provide water recreation safety education and outreach to both communities of Duluth Superior and to visitors of our area as well. And Tommy was a great fit for this project because he brought with him a lot of paddling experience, including being an instructor for whitewater kayaking. And Tommy's co-mentors were myself and then Natalie Chin from Wisconsin Sea Grant. And so take it away, Tommy.
Thanks, Kelsey. Yeah, like Kelsey said, I'm a St. Louis water safety intern this summer, working with both Sea Grant, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. All right, next slide. So the bulk of my project was working with Paddle Safe Twin Ports, which was a program started which intended to give people an accurate view of launch sites before visiting. It was kind of first conceptualized by ship captains because there were more uneducated paddlers on the St. Louis River because of the recent restorations to the river. Eventually, the project obtained funding for 13 signs and a website, which was granted in 2020. The 4 key takeaways from the project were: wear your life jacket, keep away from the big boats, check the weather, and cold water kills. During my time with the project and the internship, we sought out to expand our surveying of the sites to include broader focus on accessibility and obtaining new information that we can update throughout the years. And then we use that by using a new survey tool, which lets us do all of those things. Another part of that was visiting potential new sign locations and connecting with the community. Next slide. In connecting with the community, I was basically doing it three different ways. The first was directly by tabling at events. Yeah, tabling at events. I got to table at some of the local concerts and other community events hosted by some of our partner programs. At those events, we had some opportunities for interaction with a map of the St. Louis River estuary and also a spinner wheel for questions. And one of the big things we were promoting was the photo safe, paddle safe photo quest contest, which was a way for people to submit photos of them being a responsible paddler in order to win a prize package. And then the last way that I connected with the community was by meeting with a handful of community partners in order to figure out what they thought were the biggest safety concerns on the river. And those were some of the Parks and Rec and some other communities like St. Louis River Alliance and like the Coast Guard. Next slide. Some of my key takeaways from the internship were that not enough people were wearing their life jackets. This was a big thing from meeting with the community partners. There are so many opportunities to connect with your community. Duluth and Superior, I had no idea where there were so many opportunities to be outdoors and all of these great people. Everyone was an undergrad at some point, so you shouldn't be too intimidated by anyone since they were in your spot. Don't be afraid of rejections. Funding is a challenge on all levels, whether that be through a program like Sea Grant or a city park program. Everyone needs to worry about money. And then people are usually happy to meet with you about the things that they care about. And then next slide. Looking ahead for me, I'm excited to see the updates for PaddleSafe Twin Ports. We have been working on updating the website to include all of the changes from the survey and seeing what it looks like in future years. Other than that, I'm graduating in the spring and I have to figure out what life after undergrad looks like. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tommy. We do have one question in the Q&A box, and that question is, how did this internship align with your professional goals in biology?
I think that along with this internship, I also have an undergraduate position working at the NRI, and that kind of covers what you would typically consider in a undergrad biology position, which is helping with research over there. So in this position, I was looking to kind of diversify my portfolio and connect my interest with the outdoors and all of that with my position. So I felt that I was just a good fit for this, and that's why I applied.
All right, and then one more question. If you had more time, because this internship was only 10 weeks, so if you had more time, what would you have liked to explore further or do more of or do additionally to what you were able to accomplish in just 10 weeks?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I wish I could have worked on more was just working with the website updates. I was really interested in how we could connect EpiCollect, which is the survey tool we're using, to the PaddleSafe Twin Ports website. It seems like we're going to be able to have it so that we can make a change in the survey and it'll automatically update it on the website. So I'm really excited to see how that ends up working out, and I wish I could have been there a little longer to get that complete.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And thanks so much, Tommy. And I shared in the chat with everybody a link to the Paddle Safe Twin Ports website. And as Tommy mentioned, in the coming weeks, we are going to have, it's going to get a revamp and it's going to be great. It's great already, but it's going to be even better as a result of Tommy's work. So thanks again, Tommy. And we can move to our next session of the webinar.
Great. Hi, everyone. So I'm Julia. I'm a Fisheries and Aquaculture Extension Educator, and I helped facilitate our Fisheries and Aquaculture internships this past summer. So our first presenter within our Fisheries and Aquaculture program is Kaleb Dahn. So I'm here to introduce him. He is currently pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Earth and Environmental Science at the University of Minnesota, Duluth, and there he's a rising senior, which is so exciting. So he'll graduate in May. Kaleb started with us this past May and will continue through mid-August. So welcome Kaleb up.
Next slide. Hello, everybody. My name is Kaleb, like you already heard. I am the Aquaculture and Fisheries intern here. The main species I worked with here was Yellow Perch during my internship. And you can move on to the next slide. So what is aquaculture? In simple terms, aquaculture is farming fish or any aquatic organism, freshwater or saltwater, and taking steps to ensure that they're growing correctly. Here at the University of Minnesota, at the Twin Cities campus, we have two systems, a flow-through system and a recirculating system. Both have their benefits, but while a flow-through system would use around 15,000 gallons a day, a recirculating system would use only 33 and produces fertilizer as a byproduct, which is great. Next slide. So what did I do while I was here? One of my main duties was our fish care. That includes things like cleaning tanks, doing water quality, that top, bottom left, making sure all the parameters are correct, and taking any steps if anything goes awry. We also did sampling of our fish every month to make sure that they're growing correctly. I was also in charge of plant care here. You can see me harvesting some of our basil on that top right of that section. Our basil has definitely been our most successful crop grown from our recirculating system. I've gotten around 5 Ziploc baggies stuffed with basil up to this point. Moving on to education. I got to give a couple tours while I was here. Right there in the bottom right is my grandfather. I had a couple other family members come. I also got to participate in our Decision Maker Day, which was a conference we held with legislators, producers, and agency folks, where we gave them tours, told them a little bit about what we were doing, had a lunch with some of our own fish, and got to listen to some of what they were doing in their spheres and in the aquaculture world. I was kind of a helping hand there, and I also got to network a little bit with people from all over Minnesota, which is pretty cool. Last section I have here is building. I got to build kind of a lot of things while I was here. The two things I'm most proud of are my mini aquaponics systems. They turn fish waste into fertilizer, and the water gets cleaned by the bacteria in the plants in there. They can be used as, they're great educational tools, pretty cheap. You could do it at home, nice and DIY, or a teacher could build them in their classroom, or a high schooler could do it at their own house. Next slide. Key takeaways and skills for me. My first takeaway that I got during this internship was not to be afraid about having dumb questions or be worried to ask for help. Something I learned was it's not always the specific knowledge you have about an internship, but more the skills you bring and how you can apply them. My next takeaway was flexibility, and things often don't go as planned, especially when working with live animals. Things always go wrong. You can count on it. So being able to problem solve and fix things with the tools that I have was something I got to practice a lot and was great. My last takeaway was the importance of in-person communication. especially in an extension or applied science field. I got to communicate with some farmers in person on tours. Decision Maker Day was a large part in that. I think it can also be framed as an accessibility issue. If you're speaking to farmers, they may just have email and they might not even answer that email. So being able to meet them in person and talk to them is important. Next slide. So what's next for me? I plan to graduate in spring of 2026. This internship has really validated my interest in applied science and data interpretation and animal husbandry. So I'll be pursuing that further. It's opened doors and pathways to new areas of interest. I knew very little about aquaculture before I started this internship, and I've gotten to pursue it in my personal life, but also I plan to possibly pursue careers in the field in aquaculture. Furthering my education, I didn't necessarily plan on doing a master's or a PhD program right after undergraduate, but seeing some of the careers here and how what the jobs that people get to do when they get into those programs has really made me want to pursue that further. And lastly, I have keeping in touch with Sea Grant. I'll be watching the newsletter and I'll be applying for a position up in the Duluth office pretty soon here. Wink, wink. And that's all. Oh, my acknowledgements. Oh my gosh. I have a couple people to acknowledge, of course. Julia Gren, Amy Schrank, and Dahn Schreiner. All my mentors that I got to get advice from and work with here. Madison Bell and Charlie Fischer. They helped me in the lab pretty much every day, taking care of the fish, and also took care of my mini systems while I was away. And lastly, Barry Tholey donated me some fish for my systems and gave me some great advice on some plant care for myself.
Awesome. So at this point, we will take any questions. So are there any questions in the room? Okay. We'll give people a second to type while we're thinking. Oh, Amy, I see a question.
Oh, okay, this is a quick one. I just wonder, did you learn anything surprising about yourself? What was the most surprising thing that you kind of learned or realized about yourself?
About myself.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It can also be something surprising you learned.
Something that I thought was really nice that I guess I learned during this internship. I've worked with like educating in the past and helping people in the past, and that part of this internship has really been great for me. It's been validated that interest as well. So kind of being able to do work, but also being able to see that work actually have an impact on others was great.
All right, and then we have time for one more question. So can you share a story of fixing a problem that you had with the live animals?
Yeah, I'd say a big issue where we had to stay late and stuff. We had just moved our fish into our recirculating system, and we had a huge ammonia spike, and we had to problem solve a couple of things. So we looked at temperature, we looked at ways to dilute it, and other ways just to reduce stress for the fish. We ended up doing a water change on our system, and we don't want to change the water too much because that can also stress them out. So trying to find that perfect level and also not kill our fish was one issue that had to be solved.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kaleb. All right, and I also had another intern this summer, and his name is Charlie Fischer, so I'm going to introduce him. He's coming on up. So Charlie is also a rising senior, but he's at the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities, and he is pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Fisheries, Wildlife, and Conservation Biology. Charlie started with us probably in March, honestly, a little bit earlier than most internships start. Charlie didn't pursue a traditional internship like Kaleb did, where he worked 40 hours a week here over a 10, 12-week period. Charlie instead is doing this for class credit, and he is working, he worked 2 days a week throughout the summer, essentially. So, all right, Charlie, take it away.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm the aquaculture intern. Like Julie said, I'm pursuing a BS in Fisheries Wildlife Conservation Biology at the University of Minnesota. I grew up fishing in Minnesota, so my earliest memories were fishing in Minnesota with family and family friends. We have a cabin up north and I remember fishing there all the time, just spending hours on the lake. I discovered Minnesota Sea Grant through Professor Bump, who was one of my professors at the University of Minnesota when I was looking for a job for class credit, an internship for class credit, which needed 90 hours in the summer, and not many places were hiring at the moment. And I will come to find out that my resume was not very good, but that didn't help either. But I came in with very minimal aquaculture experience. And even though I did have minimal aquaculture experience, they still put chance on me, which was really nice. Both Amy and Julia did, and I now later learned that Amy and Professor Bump are married. Did not know that at the time. I don't think he mentioned that either, which is kind of funny. But yeah, they took a chance on me, which I greatly appreciate. Next slide, please. The work I did, it was mostly fish husbandry, which, like Kaleb said, taking care of the fish. I think we calculated about like 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day of just taking care of the fish, which includes feeding them, doing a behavior check, making sure they all seem happy and healthy and taken care of, making sure that their acceptable water conditions are met and that nothing is out of the ordinary. Like Kaleb said, ammonia spike can be bad, temperature spikes or plummets can be bad, anything can stress out the fish, and multiple stressors can lead to poor fish quality and fish that don't grow properly, which is not good when you're trying to sell these fish later on. Other than that, I did lead a tour as well. During Decision Maker Day was more of a background role and kind of just helping out wherever I could, which was a lot of fun. I did really enjoy doing that. And then later on, I had an opportunity to lead a tour with Julia, just like a one-person tour, just kind of around our space and everything like that and how we operate, which was a really good lesson I learned then. I didn't have as deep of a knowledge as I thought I did on the stuff we were doing. Luckily, Julie was there to kind of help fill in the gaps, which was very helpful. But I think I learned a lot from that of learning how to be more well prepared and ask questions beforehand so they go, what should I talk about? I realized I didn't really know exactly what the main topics I should be hitting on. So I think that helped me learn from that a lot, which I was really happy about. I also had the opportunity to do field work with some of the cattail interns, which was a lot of fun. There I did a lot of, I just kind of helped count, which was enjoyable, but it was still a lot of fun to be on the field and kind of see more of what field work can be, because I haven't had much opportunity to work field work. Next slide, please. The professional development I got here was huge. I think it was honestly the biggest takeaway I got because I was able to do so much professional growth, which was really amazing. Like I said, I came with minimal experience within aquaculture. I had experience in a lab doing lab work, but it wasn't this type of lab work. It wasn't with the fish and with water and everything like that, which is a whole different beast compared to what I was doing before. Like I mentioned, I didn't have the best resume. It was kind of questionable. It wasn't very well, it didn't look very nice and it wasn't really well rounded as it should have been. So here I was able to really bolster that resume and get a lot of experience within fisheries, which will help me, I think, further down the line with what I want to do. So that was really, really great. This helped me for getting jobs I want post-graduation. Come graduation, I would really like to be able to move out west, like Alaska, Washington, and do fisheries work out there. So I think this provides me with great resume experience to be able to tell them, like, I know what I'm doing. I can help with you guys, water, like help with whatever you guys need to do, especially with all the farms and stuff like that out there. And then during Decision Maker Day, I was able to network with other professionals in the field or in the industry, which was a lot of fun. I got offered 2 jobs. Nothing as of yet, but I'm still waiting on them. So we'll see what happens with that. But that would be a lot of fun to have those connections being made here. Next slide, please. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I think everyone I worked with was so fun and so great, and everyone put a lot of effort into helping me develop and helping me be a better person. So thank you guys.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Charlie? We've got some extra time. All right, while people are typing them out. So Charlie, what is one challenge that you faced this summer? Kind of similar to what Kaleb said with, or Kaleb's question with like fish care. What's the challenge that you faced when you were in the lab and how did you fix it?
I think it was less with the lab stuff, but I think being here only 2 days a week kind of made it hard to communicate with everyone on what was going on. So I think that was kind of a challenge, is just communicating with everybody. But I know that Kaleb and Madison made it really easy to talk to them every single day when I was there and let you know what they did when I wasn't there. So that was really helpful. So I think that was a kind of a big challenge when being here so minimally.
We do have a question in the chat. So as a fisher, is there anything that you think recreational fishers should know about aquaculture?
I think it's a great way to get fish. Tastes just as good as the fish you catch out of the lake. So I think if you guys not really hitting your limit today on the water, you can get it out off the water. So I think that'd be really big for the industry as a whole, help us stop pulling so many fish out of lakes and keep those lakes at healthier population levels.
Okay. Any questions from the room here?
We have time.
We have time, yeah.
Okay, well,
Amy.
what was one thing you learned about yourself? Like, what surprising thing did you learn, or something you didn't know? Or something you liked, you didn't think you liked, or something you don't like that you thought you might like?
Yeah.
I think something I learned, like you said, about myself was just, I think, like I'm graduating soon, and that still kind of really hasn't hit me yet, and I'm gonna have to get more adult jobs. So I think this kind of helped me realize that I am more than capable for handling those adult jobs and handling the industry as well as I have, and kind of take it in the strides I can. So I think that was really big for me and building my confidence for the future.
Claire.
I have a question. Does this experience make you interested in working in like an aquaculture or hatchery setting in the future, do you think, especially like out west and there's a lot of salmon hatcheries and stuff?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. I think it'd be a lot of fun to be able to do. I think, despite the fact that my resume is mostly built around aquaculture at the moment, I think it'd be really nice to be able to do more of it and do it with different species. I think it'd be kind of cool to see how, like, salmon being a fish that needs to swim upriver or upstream would be interesting to see how they kind of handle that problem compared to perch, which can be in somewhat still water. So I think it'd be fun to see kind of how that plays out and what can happen in the future.
Time for one more question. All right, well, I have one. So, so we have different systems in the lab. We have a greenhouse space. We have different flow through systems in the basement of Hodson. Did you have a favorite system that you liked working with out of everything that we have?
I think the greenhouse, they were very low maintenance.
Okay.
They're very low maintenance. They're really easy to work with. I think they were the most fun. And it was always so much brighter in there compared to the Hodson Hall, because Hodson Hall is like in a sub basement. So it's a little bit dark in there. So it's nice to be in the sun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Okay. I'll put it there.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Claire Rude, and I am a research fellow with Minnesota Sea Grant working on our invasive hybrid cattail project. This project specifically is looking at small scale removal of hybrid cattail as a possible method to mitigate the negative ecological impacts of cattail monocultures in our lakes, and also looking at if this helps restore native fish and plant communities in lakes. This summer, we had 2 interns working on this project. This is a really heavily fieldwork based project. So both of our interns spent a lot of time on lakes around the state, mucking around in cattail stands with me. Our first intern who's going to speak is Jackson Peterson. Jackson is a rising senior at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, majoring in ecology, evolution, and behavior. Jackson came to us with a strong interest in aquatic plants and a background in aquatic plant removal. So I'll hand it over to Jackson
now. Thank you, Claire. Well, with that introduction and with this slide being up, I think we can move on into the presentation. So if you want, thank you. So what I did is, well, it'll be the same as everybody in this cattail group, but we did a lot of fish sampling and plant sampling. So for the fish sampling, we did both minnow traps and pike nets. Minnow traps were to catch significantly smaller fish, as well as just kind of the younger versions of some of the larger fish. So we've got like baby largemouth bass and baby perch and a couple of small pike. And we baited those with like dog food and let those out as in groups as it went down the shoreline. So in some shallower shoreline area, and then as it got a little deeper. And then the pike nets were kind of the same. Pike nets caught a lot of bigger things, like we got a lot of snapping turtles that had to be wrangled out of them, and painted turtles and all sorts of other interesting things that we weren't exactly sampling for. Plant sampling, we would put a big 1 meter by 1 meter square PVC out, and then we had to identify every species of aquatic plant that was in that area, and we would do that as the same way as you got further out from shore. Between, as Claire was saying, a cut site to see if the removal of them would be helpful, as well as in the cattail stands themselves and a native site between several lakes that we did. As well as we have some dissolved oxygen probes out that we have not quite taken out yet. So, and then in the Twin Cities and Park Rapids, Detroit Lakes area. Do you want to hit next? Some of the key skills, at least I'll start with technical skills. Aquatic plant ID, I had some experience with that, but it has much more been fleshed out from this summer, and I'm actually very happy about that. As well as lake fish ID, which is a little trickier. They don't, a lot of them look the same, especially the different types of sunnies. And so that was left up mostly to Claire. As well as I got more experience with boat and trailer operation, which I had a little bit of, and but I got plenty more, so that was good. As well as equipment maintenance, which I have not really done and nor really thought about, and so that was really nice to think about. Transferable skills, teamwork. I definitely worked on my teamwork this year, working with these three, and it's definitely interesting working with a smaller group because I'm used to working with larger groups. I've gotten a lot more comfortable with wildlife. When you're out standing in the cattails, spiders and all sorts of other things like to crawl all over you, and that was something I definitely had to get more comfortable with. As well as my professionalism, working with professional employees, as well as having to be kind of the face for the university, especially out in some of these more rural towns. Yeah, so next, please. Some of my lessons are being able to push my comfort level, as I was saying, there's a lot of bugs, as well as also with like interpersonal skills and working with people. We stayed up in Detroit Lakes for 2 weeks straight, just 3 of us. And so that was kind of an interesting challenge for me as well. Working in some of these unfamiliar environments, I haven't really been much into the outer parts of the state super frequently. And so that was also interesting to travel to do work. As well as working outdoors in all weather conditions. I'm used to working a bit outdoors, but not so much like in heavy pouring rain and kind of just some of the more adverse weather conditions. And then for the plant and fish ID, the better understanding of diversity of ecosystems has really fleshed out and made me so much more comfortable and made me way more curious about the environment around us as well. You can hit next. Some of my main takeaways are, it was really interesting to me to find evidence of human impact kind of everywhere, between the fact that there's, invasive species kind of all over all the lakes, as well as just like we were finding like garbage and stuff just everywhere, like even like deep into the cattail stands, it's just stuff everywhere. As well as like, while technical skills are important and I'm very appreciative to have learned a lot more about them and gotten more experience with them, communication, leadership, and other interpersonal skills are extremely important as well, almost more so, and definitely something I'm going to have to continue to work on. As well as I should have more confidence in my own skills. I was pretty quick to pick things up and make sure that I knew what I was doing and could do the things effectively and communicate. And it was really nice to be able to see again that I'm doing well. Next slide, please. What's next for me? Short term, I have to volunteer. I'm planning to volunteer as well as I have to graduate, and I'm trying to do some restoration stuff locally. And then long term, I really want a conservation career, and I'm planning to open some sort of conservation business at some point later in the future. Last slide, please. And then just some acknowledgements, which I'll just leave up to finish.
Okay. Yeah, at this point, Jackson would be happy to take any questions that people have.
Saw at least one in the Q&A. In the like Q&A box. At the bottom, very bottom. There you go. Yeah.
All right, from an anonymous attendee, they want to know what the most memorable or unusual thing that you experienced out in the field was.
Definitely the snapping turtles. Having to actually wrangle them out and like having them snap like through the net kind of towards like your ankles or your shins. And then still having to like kind of stick your hands into the net and like pull them out. And then Alex was much better at that. But I did get my own opportunity to do it a little bit and hold one of them. So that was probably it for sure.
Do you have a favorite fish species after you mentioned a bunch of them in there?
Yeah.
So any like life cycle specific or?
Mostly just based on looks. I didn't really grow up fishing or anything, so I actually have like no knowledge of like any fish. And it was cool. I actually really like being able to learn to recognize largemouth bass really well. But specifically, it was cool to see the several pike the few that we saw. So those are definitely the most interesting looking. Yeah.
All right, we have another question from the chat. How has this experience influenced your feelings about working in the conservation, environmental, or natural resources field?
It has definitely made me much more confident in my decision. Prior to this internship, I was still kind of on the fence of like, and a little nervous to kind of like decide that I really wanted to do it. But after this internship, it's really kind of sparked my curiosity to continue exploring nature and to help save it, especially in the current times of things where we're not doing so hot on that. And I pretty much decided that, yeah, I'm going to be doing conservation no matter what. So, yeah.
All right. Well, unless there's any more questions, we can move on to our final intern. Yes. All right, so our last intern was the other intern working on our invasive cattail-dominated shorelines project. Alex Swartz is a rising senior at the University of Minnesota Duluth. He's majoring in biology. He came to us with a very strong interest in invertebrates and insects of all kinds. And he has a background working with the Dakota County Wetland Health Evaluation Project. So Alex, if you'd like to come up and talk to us about your internship experiences.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction, Claire. Yes, I am majoring in ecology, evolution, and the environment. During the internship, we sampled shoreline fish and aquatic plants at various lakes across the area. We sampled aquatic plants along nearshore zones of lakes and compared the diversity between 3 different types of sites, native veg, cattail-dominated, and cut sites. When minnow trapping, we set minnow traps in the same locations as each plant site to gauge both the fish and plant diversity at each place. Here we primarily caught small sunfish, young game fish, and relatively few minnows. When fyke netting, this was designed more to catch the broadest range of fish visiting the shoreline. This also seemed to be the most effective way of catching minnows during the study. When cleaning and maintaining equipment, it was crucial to get rid of all of the veg before using equipment again, after each use. This was anything from the boats to the traps and nets. And during cross-training, we took interns from the aquaculture department out fyke netting and minnow trapping during data collection. And I also got a chance to visit aquaculture and work on some of the daily fish maintenance tasks. Next slide. Some skills I picked up include lake fish identification. Here I drew out 3 of the minnows I learned to identify and their distinguishing characteristics. Aquatic plant identification. I've had previous experience with this, but this gave me the opportunity to see and learn about plants I had not yet identified. Boat operation and trailering, this was anything from pulling into the accesses to driving with a trailer. Shoreline sampling techniques was another one. This was anything from fyke netting to oxygen logger setup, and decon protocols for each of the AIS we were exposed to during the trip. Next slide. Interpersonal communication was necessary in making sure that we knew what was going on and how to navigate a situation in an effective way. Cooperation and working as a team made it possible to do a variety of tasks with one another and work efficiently. When communicating with the public, we had interactions with private landowners and DNR staff and learned how to share pertinent facts and information. Professionalism included, well, just keeping to a schedule, meeting deadlines, and communicating with team members for the most part. When preparing for weather, terrain, and sampling methods, sticking to a planned packing list was crucial to ensure that I had all the equipment I needed for being out in the field, from bug spray to rain gear. Next slide. Some problems I dealt with included patching waders. Both my pairs had leaks in them, and I needed to know how to patch those up to prevent compromised mobility in the dense cattail stands. An important part of fyke netting especially was dealing with bycatch, especially turtles like this big snapper here was a big one. Deer flies and mosquitoes were plentiful, so bug spray was crucial. However, deer flies were not well affected by DEET. We dealt with various unfavorable weather conditions, such as intense rain, high humidity, and wildfire smoke. I gained perspective of invasive cattail on public. Oh, sorry, next. I gained perspective on the impact of invasive cattails on public and private land and a new appreciation for the depth of this problem out in the field. When it comes to applying skills from past work, my skills I learned at the Wetland Health Evaluation Program of Dakota County came in handy for many of the situations I dealt with while out in the field. I also learned technical skills I hadn't previously been exposed to, such as decon procedures, quadrat mapping, and setting fyke nets. I will be returning to, next slide. I will be returning to UMD to finish my degree, and I plan to continue volunteering with the Wetland Health Evaluation Program of Dakota County as time permits. And my long-term goals are to possibly work with species reintroduction or agroforestry. Next slide. I would like to thank my supervisor, Claire Rood, my fellow intern, Jackson Peterson, the staff at Aquaculture, and my parents and Madam Swartz, who are very supportive of me and came up to hike and take me out to dinner, even though I beat them at Sushi Go.
All right, thank you so much for your presentation, Alex. And at this point, we can take any questions for Alex if you have.
Oh, I noticed that you mentioned that you drew like the species in there. So like,
Oh yeah.
did you get into art because of this internship, or did you do it before this?
Oh, ever since I was little, I've been in art. I've been involved in the art academy down in St. Paul. I do this kind of stuff for fun. I do it when I'm bored. And it, like up there, it does come in handy when trying to remember certain things like animal identification.
Very cool.
All right, we have a question from the chat. What was the most memorable or unusual thing you experienced out in the field besides the snapping turtles?
Well, my second most unusual experience out in the field would probably be the floating mats of decomposing cattails. That made it so hard to walk through some of these cut sites. and made it hard to get a footing. Kind of goes into the whole waiter situation. But yeah, you really did not want to slip in one of those because some of them are so deep, you feel like you're going to break an ankle in there. And you can just see the magnitude of these big root mats and how like vast these cattail groves can get.
So what was something that you learned about yourself during this internship hour, or something you realized about yourself, or what you did or didn't like, anything new that you learned?
Well,
Or maybe it confirmed that you're already interested in the things you're interested in.
well, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I learned a couple things. I learned how to put my skills to good use. Some of the things like the bugs and what little plant experience I had before, and all the other invertebrate experience. Granted, I was pretty new with fish and all, but that really helped with like learning about what's going on in these situations, how to keep bugs off of me that could be harmful. And another thing that I also learned was how daunting the idea of working with invasive species can be. Just seeing how we hardly encountered a single native cattail out there. It was just the hybrids, the big groves of hybrids, and that's really all we saw. And seeing that, and seeing other invasive species like curly leaf and plants like that, it really makes you think that like, wow, the magnitude of this is just incredible. And you get hopeful, but you also get like, it almost makes you kind of nervous a little bit seeing this, like, wow, I really got my work cut out for me.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, if that's all we have specific to Alex, I think we will now be moving into a Q&A for all of the interns, and I believe Amy is going to be facilitating that. Thank you so much, Alex. Thanks.
Hey, everybody. I am Amy Schrank. I'm the Extension Program Leader for Minnesota Sea Grant and also a Fisheries and Aquaculture Extension Educator. So happily, we have a few minutes left. And so we thought we'd open it up for all questions for all interns. So remember, it's really good practice to have to answer questions on your feet. So if anyone has questions, you can put them into the Q&A or into the chat, and we will ask it. Go ahead, one question for everybody. So it seems like in each internship, there was some aspect of public engagement and something public facing. So, did you enjoy working with the public, and how did you go about communicating with these general members of the community? Good question. Tommy, can we go to you first for this one? I'll just call on everybody and, can answer.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed working with the public. It's something that I haven't done too much in my other jobs, but especially like tabling, I've only tabled for certain like university clubs. So it was a very different experience being able to do that at these public events. And I really enjoyed it. I think it was really cool to see people interested in what we have to offer.
Great. Thanks, Tommy. Okay, Kaleb, I'll just go in the order you presented.
Yeah, I did enjoy meeting with the public. I definitely got to see or hear some unique perspectives from like all the legislators, producers, agency folks, as well as giving like my family a tour. It was really interesting, like the questions they asked and like what they knew and what they didn't know.
Cool. Thanks, Charlie.
Like Kaleb said, I think it was really fun to be able to talk with all the people who are in the industry. I think that's a lot easier than like the general public because they at least have some knowledge of what you were doing and kind of your end goals. So I kind of enjoyed talking about that. And I think a lot of these people are nerdy about the things they're doing. And I think that's a lot of fun to see their passion with things. It kind of gets me more passionate about what they're doing. And then I'm going to be leading my parents through our lab. So I'll let you guys know how that goes.
That's awesome. Great. Jackson.
Well, with our internship, we didn't meet with the public quite as much as it sounds like everybody else has, but the couple of interactions we did have were quite interesting, especially the locals. A lot of them knew quite a bit about the situation with the invasive species in their lakes, but then you'd meet some of the other people who you could tell didn't care quite as much and were just kind of curious about what we were doing as university workers, and just kind of the level of detail that you could give to certain people, kind of get to gauge, was interesting. Yeah.
Thanks. And Alex.
Yeah, I think Jackson pretty much covered it. With the general public, you have people who are curious about what we were doing and would wonder about like the cattails. Sometimes they'd be surprised to know that all of those cattails are hybrid cattails, not native. Also, moments when we talked to people from other organizations like the DNR. We encountered one person from the Minnesota Dragonfly Society, which was a blast for me.
Yeah, I bet.
Just seeing all these people from other backgrounds and hearing what they got to say on a common topic is just something I would almost say I enjoyed. Just kind of give me a wider outlook.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Good job, everybody. You are great at thinking on your feet. So question in the Q&A for the cattail crew. Were the hybrids introduced, or how did they get so widespread? So Jackson, Alex. Subject to Claire's correction. I know you guys know.
Yeah, I would say the main thing is like, so the native cattails always existed here, and there was another species that was introduced, not 100% sure where, but I believe from Europe. And when they were introduced here, they started hybridizing with the native cattail. And that hybrid version, which is the ones we've been talking about, so those are technically not introduced because it is a mixture of the invasive and the introduced and the native. And the hybrid ones kind of are just really prolific as they're much more hardy than the native ones. And they can also grow in much deeper water, so they just have access to a lot more habitat. And so they just kind of took over, and I don't know exactly what caused them to displace the native ones by so much to the point where we're not seeing them, but that is kind of the reality of how prolific they've been.
Great. Great. Good job. Anything to add, Alex? You good? Good.
And you just about covered it.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to read a couple of these kudos because not everyone can see the chat. So not a question, but a kudo for starting your presentation with what is aquaculture, an excellent communication tactic. That's great. And then the one at the end, a thank you, not a question. As an alum, I'm delighted to learn all of the interns are doing such terrific, to learn of all of the interns, what they are doing in a terrific program. I spent much time on the lakes when I was at UMD in '65, and it's good to know what everyone is doing to conserve the Minnesota outdoor environment. So kudos to you all. That's great. Question in the chat. What would you tell someone interested in applying for an internship who doesn't think they meet all the position requirements? So I think we have time, so I'll just run through all of you really quickly. Tommy, what do you think?
I mean, I feel like you just apply for it and see how it goes. If you get a meeting with them, you can explain why you would be excited to work with them on that. I don't know. It doesn't really hurt too much to apply.
Cool, thanks, Tommy. Kaleb?
I'd say it costs nothing to apply, and I didn't think that I would be like the perfect fit or that I fit all the requirements, but I'm here and I feel like I'm doing great, so.
Sure.
Yeah, apply, just do it. It's easy just to do it. And I think someone, I don't think met all the requirements. I think it was good to kind of, the worst they can say is no, and the best they can do is say no and help you out. So I think that was really nice to have someone kind of help me out a bit more than I needed it, so it was good.
Jackson?
I would say, like, again, just literally apply. It's free. Like, the worst thing they can say is no, they can't really do a whole lot else. I mean, when I applied, Claire told me, hey, we just finished our interview process. We're done with them. And I still wound up with it. So even like in terms of like not fitting it in terms of time requirements isn't always like the worst thing in the world. I mean, you just kind of got to reach out to people and start asking questions. Yeah, apply.
Cool, Alex.
I would agree. Yeah, that's kind of my strategy.
Mhm.
Apply to a lot of different ones that you believe will be something that you fit in with, and just get those applications out there. So then if you aren't accepted by some, you might get accepted by others. Also, you never know what skills you can bring to the table. So even if you feel like you aren't the most well-versed, I mean, there's always learning opportunities, and who knows, you could have something you could bring to the table.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for attending. My job is to wrap up here and say thank you to everyone for taking the time to join us and hear the work our interns have done. Having you all here attend is really helpful. It's great professional development for our interns to get to present in front of real people, virtual or in person, and actually answer questions on the spot. So thanks for the help with that. We will have more internship opportunities coming up next summer. So if you're interested in staying in the loop, please look at these QR codes. You can check out the website, fill out the internship interest form. A special thank you to our interns. You guys are awesome. It's been so fun to see what you're doing. Thanks for taking the time to reflect and put together this presentation, which I know takes a lot of time and can be stressful. All of us at Minnesota Sea Grant love to see the work you're doing, and you should know that you really expand our reach. We could never do the work we do without you here. You really expand our reach wonderfully. So your efforts absolutely help us accomplish what we need to do at Minnesota Sea Grant. So thanks for that. Lastly, a big thank you to our mentors. So thank you to Kelsey, Claire, and Julia. While we truly benefit from the work our interns do, mentoring interns takes a lot of thought and care and time. So you've seen really three of the best here. So thanks for the time and care you put into mentoring interns. It makes a huge difference. And it's nice that these folks have a good example of what a really positive internship and mentorship opportunity looks like. So thank you. So with that, thanks to everyone for coming. I appreciate you spending the last hour with us, and have a great weekend. Thanks.